and Super Showdown, and all the happenings around the world of pro wrestling. Because we're live on Cage Side Seats, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and whatever video is sold. Anthony, take it away.
Hey, rock and roll. Welcome to the Bros Before Elbows Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, along with my co-hosts, Tommy and Theron. Theron, this being his last cast from North Carolina. But without further ado, we have a jam-packed episode, of course, full of we don't know because we just kind of make it up on the fly. But briefly in our pre-production meeting, we're going to talk about the Jon Moxley, a.k.a. former man known as Dean Ambrose podcast, or Dean Ambrose on the Jericho podcast. So, a lot of beans were spilled, a lot of heat was made. AEW and WWE firing some shots back and forth. We are in an all-out. Actually, I'm not saying it's an all-out war. It is not, but the fans are being vocal, and the fans are being validated because Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley, has pulled back the veil.
Theron, I wanted, before Theron's moving to Texas, first of the break, they break that news right here. I'm going to break it before Theron can break it. He's silent over there. Before we just I feel like this entire episodes and the last couple of months of us been just dunking all over WWE and just pushing them down and walking away and everything. Is there anything? Can anyone say anything nice about WWE? Anything we're enjoying right now before this podcast gets started?
This is the worst town I have ever lived in. There, I said it. Adieu to you, Charlotte. Adieu to you. Anything nice about WWE? It's really hard to do that considering that Jon Moxley and or Dean Ambrose has just made me completely biased against WWE. Every line that comes out of the mouth of a wrestler was given to him on a piece of paper 5 minutes before or however long. So it's now I'm just picking them apart. I'll say this. Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse is awesome. That's nice. Seth Rollins as Universal Champion, that's great. And then there's Randy Orton. That's all I got. I don't have anything else right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, throw Randy Orton in there at the end.
I have to always throw the legend killer, the sick, sadistic man who once kicked a woman who may or may not one day own that company on her own in the face.
He did punt her one time, didn't he? He punted Stephanie.
Arcade with her, I don't really know.
I think he doubled DDT'd off the ropes or something, that hanging DDT.
I don't really know. I don't really know what I can say. I mean, because let's face it. I mean, Jon Moxley said, "Thank you for all that you've done for me. Thank you for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and me touching lives. But let's spend 2 hours burying this company." And that's what he did. So now I'm just pancakes? Anyone? I don't even like pancakes anymore. I don't know.
Moved on to French toast?
Right. I mean, it's so hard for me to say. I'm trying to think right now. So if anyone has anything, just tag themselves in and say,
I'll jump in. I'll say, I really enjoy Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Becky Lynch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
I really enjoy Kevin Owens.
Yes.
I really enjoy NXT. So as part of the WWE branding, I would say if anything, currently as it stands, NXT is much cooler than Raw and SmackDown.
But the problem with that is that Vince McMahon has no hands in that except for the money. It's
exactly, which is cool. But as far as the Raw and SmackDown product goes, we always knew that Vince had, his hand in. He had his hand in everything.
Yeah,
and we knew that. But to have it come to light so real, from Jon Moxley is. It just kind of exposes that. It just exposes the smoke and mirrors, the production, it just takes away from the the magic of wrestling. But at the same time, too, it just kind of shows, and I'm not trying to dunk on him at this point, but it does just show that, WWE's product is stifling. Vince McMahon very much wants to control everything and therefore will, but at the expense of what fans have been saying and truly want. And that's a challenging spot. But again, I think you have a lot of cool talent. Again, Seth Rollins holding it down, Becky Lynch, 2-belt Becky. Well, I don't think she's 2-belt Becky anymore, but one belt Becky. But just the fact that like she's been holding it down and doing super good and just being a badass.
So do you like wild, wacky inflatable tube women? You like that too? I didn't say
Bayley's cool.
She's a good wrestler.
She's a great wrestler.
Yeah, no, she's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say this. I was going to follow it up with this. The women's division in Raw and SmackDown, hands down, that is a staple. That is very much a linchpin to the product. But again, it's just, I'll just say that. Those are my nice things. The women division is really great. Seth Rollins is great. Kevin Owens is great. I really love those dudes. In NXT, hands down, is like the product right now under the WWE brand. So those are my nice things.
I like the Nightmare Family. I like MJF. I like Joey Janela. I like Jon Moxley. I like Cody. I like the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega. Chris freaking Jericho, who has reinvented himself at least 3 times. I don't hate the WWE. They're clearly the product. They are on top. It doesn't matter if their wrestling product sucks because they have so many other things that they do. But just to see firsthand the idiocracy that is the things that Vince McMahon believes are in quote unquote really good stuff. It's just like, wow. So how long has it been like this? Has it been scripted forever? And I'm talking not just the outcomes. I'm talking like there's an actual writing team that hands these guys something to say. So like now you got to think of all the times Roman Reigns said the corniest things and we knew that they were blind. Then you got to think of Stardust and you got to think of Ambrose and Rollins fumbling over a boombox and calling it a beatbox. And then Brock Lesnar, who's this cash cow who may be getting paid $10 million, who comes out with this goofy boombox. And I was like, yo, that's so cool. But then that podcast came out. I was like, wait, that wasn't cool at all. He's here because he's getting millions of dollars to do this.
So I think what winds up happening is that depending on where you are in the pecking order of the locker room and just who your character is, I think you get some autonomy. I think they give you, again, just based on who you are and what your skill set is, I think to some degree, WWE gives you flexibility on creative promo cutting, but for the most part, it's like 90% all created by different creatives. And the other thing too is not even all the creatives are happy, not even all the writers are happy,
not even the stepson or whatever son-in-law. The COO is not even happy.
Yeah, man, it just goes to show that I think at this point, like, I'll say it, AEW, even though they're not a direct threat in terms of like competition with the brand of WWE, they very much are a threat to the culture and very much the culture of pro wrestling. They are a threat because they're threatening Vince McMahon's total control. And it clearly shows.
Tommy, do you have anything to say nice? I don't even know if you said anything yet.
I asked the question, so that was my setup. Daniel Bryant as the Planets champion. The Usos are always good. Nikki Cross, every time she's on the screen, I think she does something hilarious. R-Truth. Oh, man, R-Truth.
No, I love R-Truth.
R-Truth is so good. 24/7.
Dress up like a woman, but I still like him.
Yeah, man, he's it's at NXT this weekend, man. NXT is actually having their 25th takeover this weekend. It's kind of completely flying under the radar because Double or Nothing was so good, and then the Moxley podcast interview that's kind of like sucking out all the air too as well. Those like those back-to-back things, and this Raw and SmackDown being like below average this week too as well. And then Super Showdown coming up like in a week and a half next Friday. coming up has been bad too. So it's like NXT Takeover's kind of been totally overlooked, and it's gonna be a super good card this Saturday. But yeah, man, I think WWE has a chance, but like I think just the Moxley interviews confirmed like a lot of suspicions that there's like micromanaging people to death, that a lot of people aren't happy, wrestlers, writers, and pretty much everyone but Vince is happy. And Vince is happy because he gets the final say on like everything that comes through the door on Raw and SmackDown. He's right there. He's working till like 3 a.m. every day, waking up at 6 a.m. and just like living wrestling. And someone said this on Twitter. I forgot who, but like they said, how good can a promoter be if that's all he's done for the last like 30, 40 years. He's been doing that, the same thing every day, waking up doing the same thing, not taking any vacations, not taking any prolonged time off. Like, how good can someone be at their job if they're doing it day in and day out for that long? Like, what's the spark? Like, where is the fire in that? Like, where is the fresh idea? Where's the creative spark? Do that in any profession. If you're a lawyer, a doctor, a musician, a writer, anyone, dude, like if you're managing your own business, you own your own business. Like if you do the same thing for 40 years over and over again, and you do that crazy workaholic work schedule, like you're bound to like miss a lot of stuff. And I feel like WWE for the last couple of months and over time over the past couple of years has missed a lot of stuff, man. They missed a lot of layups and stuff like that. So I think that's a big part of the problem is this is the final say, and he's been doing it for way too long, man. It's just like, I don't know, they're doing the same thing over and over again, and it's showing more and more. And when you get something like AEW fresh on the scene with a whole different way of doing creative and a whole different way of doing matches and harkening back from some of the good stuff from the 80s and 90s and some of the good stuff ECW did, some of the good stuff WCW did, and mixing that all up in a pot and throwing it out there, it kind of like it shines the light on WWE, like what they've been doing wrong for the past people have been saying since they bought WCW, all the stuff they've done wrong. But I don't know if you want to go back that far, but
sure. Well, here's a perspective to think about to piggyback off of that, right? Like, Tommy, you bring up a really good point. Vince McMahon has been at this for the last 30-something years, but let's look back at what he's been working at, right? Mm-hmm. So the territories, right? All Vince McMahon has known is the demographics and how to run the United States. Mm-hmm. Wrestling at this point, as we all know, even with our show, thank you international listeners, is pro wrestling is global. Mm-hmm. Like this is a global phenomenon. This is a global product. This is a global culture. And Vince McMahon, of course, being the dominant one who won the territory wars, right? So he wins the country and, expands his business beyond reach. Again, no other company can hold a candle to what WWE has in terms of licensing, products, this, that, the other. So, but in terms of the wrestling itself, yes, Vince McMahon only knows, and of course they have WWE UK, and they're now going into Saudi Arabia and this, that, the other. But what I'm getting at is primarily he only knows the United States. And this is total conjecture. I have no freaking idea if this is true, but empirically looking at this, he knows the demographics and knows, what the audiences are like in each and every city and state and place that they go to. So, maybe he's trying to tailor the product or the storylines to people in those states and really trying to thoroughly micromanage every single show, which he is, but even to that degree of trying to cater to the audience with each and every place he goes to, totally bypassing the global perspective, the bigger picture. Maybe he's gotten so micro that he has lost the macro perspective. And being that he's had this control since the 80s or even before then, to relinquish that control at this point, that's a hard sell, man. That's really tough to take your hands off the steering wheel at that point. But as we've been saying, it's clearly showing that that it's truly missing the mark with its audience, with its fans. And that's a global fan base now. We're not just talking about like the indies, like technically the indies are global,
Yeah.
You said since the 80s. He bought a bunch of territories in the 80s, but WWF is not what I tuned into wrestling for. And I wanted to make this point. I'm so glad you said this because in the 80s, when WCW, the first wrestling I ever saw, before I ever saw Hulkamania or the Macho Man is now my favorite wrestler of all time. I don't care what you say. Go watch his promos. The first thing I saw, I'll never forget this. I'm like 5, and I'm flipping through the channels, and I come across Dusty Rhodes, and he got kicked off of the creative or the production team of his own promotion for this or whatever, because a lot of these guys had a lot of creative control. They wrote a lot of stuff. Was Dusty Rhodes taking a metal spike in his eye from the Road Warriors? That's the first thing I ever saw. Then I flip over to WWF, and some gigantic blonde white dude is telling me to say my prayers and eat my vitamins. And I'm like, my mom can't even afford vitamins, bro. We don't even eat vitamins in this house. And I don't pray right now, all right? I'm going back to the WCW and going through my childhood and even on Nitro with the Monday Night Wars, even after the Attitude Era, until Nitro got completely saturated with the NWO, it was always what was WCW doing for me. The Dangerous Alliance, the Horsemen, Dusty Rhodes, them breaking us, like all that stuff. And now you have this AEW, which, by the way, when they get on TV, they're going to be mature audiences. We ain't doing this PG crap. It's 2019, okay? I'm sorry. They're trend setting. They're changing it. Now, the difference is WCW was established for a long time before the Monday Night Wars. This is AEW's first pay-per-view, and they blew the roof off of it with this surprise debut. Not to mention they quietly, I don't even know when, I don't even know if this was supposed to happen, but Awesome Kong was there, also a former WWE employee. Like, there was just little things that they're doing where you're like, all right, now maybe they're not going to have the money, they're not going to have all the rights that WWF has or WWE, whatever they call themselves. But it's different. It's different, right? We want something different in front of our faces. We gave TNA a chance. They had their chance. They punted their chance, okay? So now we're getting this. And Anthony's right. Wrestling is international. Now, I know they do these tours and all that, but it's like everything's just so saturated. When I'm listening to Rollins speak, I love Seth Rollins. He's my favorite wrestler right now. But it's just like when I hear the cheesiness, I can hear Vince McMahon saying this and or whoever wrote the line. And then him having that final check. Because apparently everything goes through him before it goes on air or however they do it. So he sits in the office. They're like, hey, this is what we came up with. He's like, no, rewrite it. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, this is what we came up with. No, rewrite that. Ambrose needs to follow the rules. Like, why are there rules for these guys that are, this is what they do. They're creative. They're artists. This is what they love. I get there's people who can't deliver a promo, so you might have to help them, but not the guys that know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I would have to say that AEW is good for wrestling as a whole, because not everyone's going to tune in to some indie show because they probably can't, because it's probably not on TV. You know what I mean?
That was the scary part about the Mox interview. It was saying like how he had come up with all these good ideas and like just WWE shot them all down. And then this is Dean Ambrose, man. This is a guy who fought Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, like cashed in the Money Bank on Seth Rollins to become champion. This is like a high member of the Shield. Like, this is a high up guy. This guy has to be like on the top 2-3% of WWE. And he was getting his ideas shut down and his creativity just like stuffed out, like beaten out of him by the WWE process. That's scary. What you said?
He eventually got exhausted. Like he said that it was like the, I don't know, third or fourth story, and they were like going to have him do a has. I don't even know if he did this because I don't remember. But there was like, it was when he was a heel. And you guys remember how bad that run was with Seth Rollins? Well, now you're seeing why, because it's like the ideas were all, creative driven, Vince driven. And then they're like, hey, you're going to come out and say that people stink and we're going to whatever. No one will probably ever know what he was going to say about Roman Reigns that he didn't end up saying, but it was probably just something way over the top. It probably wouldn't have worked because I remember none of you liked that angle, and I was like, I don't really like it either. But now it just makes sense. And they were going to put him in a freaking full-on hazard suit to say that America was disgusting or people were disgusting. And now we're seeing, and this is what they do because they did it with Emelina and Mandy Rose, that I feel like now Sami Zayn's doing a better job, and they probably realized that it was stupid to do all the stuff they were going to do. But now Sami Zayn's taking on this character, but he's just doing a better job with it. So sometimes they hit it, and it's right on the head. By the way, Sami Zayn right now, good for WWE. There you go. But it's like, man, Dean Ambrose, who was like almost a cash cow for a while, has all these good ideas, and you're shooting them out. So how many times do they do that? How many times do they do that to Sasha Banks? To the Revival. I know y'all don't like the Revival. I like the Revival. Other people, maybe Tyler Breeze, or who knows, Mojo Rock, some guy that you would never think of that might have had an awesome idea, and they're just like, yeah, no, we're gonna put some electric paint on your face, and you're gonna wear a onesie now. You're gonna kind of look like Cable meets, I don't know, the DC. I don't know, some DC comic book character. It's a way better idea. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, oh man, Jon Moxley's Vince McMahon impressions were pretty funny too.
Hilarious. And they were spot on. He did a Johnny Ace impersonation. That was great too.
That was pretty good too. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. Johnny Ace, by the way, is John Laurinaitis, if you don't know.
Man. Yeah, that was crushing, man. Like, but then like to see Moxley like free, running wild, and like him talking about like loving wrestling again, how like making his own promo video like that he released that one night, and he's like breaking out of jail or whatever. Like I never heard Dean Ambrose this happy, and we always talk about this. Me and Anthony, and then Theron too when he joined the podcast, is like when Dean Ambrose did the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. And he just like it was like the worst thing ever. Yeah. And he was like that's when he was champion too. I was like he brought the belt onto the podcast, and he was just. It was horrible, man. He's like, what was wrong with this dude? Yeah, he just seemed like drained or whatever. But yeah, like, what was wrong with this dude? And like, now you know why. What was wrong with it? He was just like, you could see his career like tailing off, seeing a lot of his ideas getting shot down, seeing like writers come to him with bad ideas, tossing those ideas in the trash, and going to Vince McMahon and getting shot down again. Like trying to work with this WWE like bureaucracy or whatever, like navigating through all this maze, and like still just getting tired of it. And now you kind of see like the Revival, the Harpers, the Ty Dillingers, the Sasha Banks, like how these people got tired of all this, how Cody Rhodes got tired of this all those years ago, and like set the spark that made all this somehow, some way down the line. But yeah, I think we understand Dean Ambrose a lot better in his thinking now that we've heard that podcast.
Well, not only that, but let's take it a sidestep, and let's say when you get called up from NXT to Raw, like everybody wants that call up, and then as soon as they get called up, they just get pushed to the side, because I believe Triple H is giving these guys autonomy, right? He's letting them build their characters up, and then the moment they hit Raw or SmackDown, they get that freedom taken away, and they have to read this garbage. You're not garbage. Sorry, they shouldn't say that. They have to read this scripted material that isn't their own.
Yeah, I thought that was just certain people. Like, I really always thought that they would give them an outline and be like, just make sure you say that people suck so you can get some heat. You kind of can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You got 10 minutes. Go. But now it's like, no, there's a whole writing team. There's a whole everything. And then, it's just so crazy. And then you hear, like, things from Jericho along the lines of, hey, by the way, just in case, and I think you said this, one of you said this when this was happening, the Festival of Friendship, Jericho angle, I think it was Anthony, it could have been Tommy, it was one of you, and you were like, it would be way cooler if these guys were fighting over the Universal title. It was either before or after it.
Yeah.
In reality, that was supposed to happen. I don't know if you guys knew that, but then Vince is like, nah, we're just going to go with the Beast versus Goldberg because I just changed my mind on it.
See, that just shows how like disjointed Vince is from the fans, which is why we get so pissed off at Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Because that's his go-to, dude. That's his go-to, like, screw it. This guy gets good reactions, bad reactions, but he gets a reaction, so screw it. Stick with what's comfortable. That, I think, is the underlying curse, or becoming the curse or ailment for the current creative culture in WWE, is that it's comfortable, it's complacent. There's like this idea that we can't be touched because we're so big. But in reality, it's like, no, you're going backward. You know, dude, to have Jericho and Kevin Owens fight for the title in the Festival of Friendship would have been brilliant. That would have been fun writing. That would have been a fun, really fun WrestleMania. But instead, what did we get? We got comfortable, classic garbage nonsense, you know, Brock Lesnar. You know, just always Brock Lesnar, always Brock Lesnar, always. That's why I'm so, you know, peeved about it. I just can't stand it because it's like, again, what's for dinner? Meatloaf. Well, okay.
He's not meatloaf.
No, I'm just saying, but like, what's
Lesnar's fault, or is
no? It's not his fault, but it's like, you know, cool. He's getting paid, so why does he care, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the product goes, it's like, oh, Meatloaf again. You know, oh yeah, we're gonna tease. You know, we're gonna tease Firefest. You're gonna get 5-star meal. You're gonna get food served you on silver platters, and then you get there and you're abandoned on the island, and your freaking luggage is thrown around, and you're freaking sleeping outside, being rained on in FEMA tents, and here's your bologna sandwich.
I thought
Here's
it was
meatloaf.
So do you? Okay,
WWE is quickly becoming Firefest.
You said Firefest.
The documentary on Netflix and Hulu. Yeah, you gotta watch it.
What documentary?
It has Ja Rule in it.
How do you not know about Firefest, bro?
Did you say Ja Rule?
Oh
yeah, that's true. Ja Rule's involved in it.
Firefest. Oh, no.
Yeah, man. Firefest is like a huge deal, man.
Oh my god.
Is it the big festival that Ja Rule put on?
Yes, and everybody was abandoned. Like people showed up for a festival that had no reason to exist.
Oh my god, I have to watch that. That's on Netflix.
Oh my god! Wow, you'll better understand the analogy, but nonetheless,
you're the one that made it, man.
I digress. All I'm saying is that Vinnie Mac has gotten comfortable. WWE creative to no fault of their own, really, because it is extremely micromanaged. It's the product is going backward. The story is going backward, and there's a lot of missed opportunities for the sheer fact of control, and that's hurting them.
Do you think that Moxley and Jericho and whoever else has signed with AEW, not even like, you know, with their rights to do whatever they want in other companies too, is this almost similar? Now remember, WCW was 10 years established, but are we looking at once again, possibly, we're nowhere near this, but is this just the same as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumping ship? Because it was the same story. They both told it. They said, you know, Kevin Owens, Festival of Friendship, blah, blah, blah. And then something happened. He just said it. And I think it was this. It was that. It was something along the lines of he was supposed to be fighting for the Universal title. He gets told that, hey, we're changing it. You'll fight for the U.S. title. You'll be on second in WrestleMania. And he was like, I'll never be higher on the card than that. So I'm out. And then Moxley was just like, I'm just tired of this. You know, Hall and Nash was a money thing. But it was you saw what happened when that happened. They almost put the WWE out of business. That's how close they were. They just fumbled. Is this the same? Is this similar? Is this trend setting? Do we have the potential to see that? I mean, Tommy, what do you think? You think that could be this big of a deal?
Man, that's a hard prediction, man. Like, because like Anthony said, like WWE's got such a big head start, man. They have their own streaming network. They got so many, like a big sponsorship deal with TV deals with USA, TV deals with Fox. I mean, man, like merchandising thing, they're all organized, like website wise, social media. They passed 1 billion. They announced on Raw the other night they passed 1 billion followers total on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and like Instagram. It's like and tout coming up in there the rear. But I mean, that's just like it's huge, man. That's a huge. There's a monster if they want to be. Like if they can get their stuff right, their house owner, they can crush AEW, man. They have a way deeper roster. They got way better TV deals, their own streaming service that works really good on everything. A huge social media following, more money than AEW. I mean, they got all these. If you got to do a check mark, a pros or a checklist, like WWE has so many advantages against AEW. But all that being said, if the product in the ring and the stories on TV aren't good, it's done, man. Because it's a TV show, man. If it still has bad writing, like a TV show, it's gonna go downhill, man. Despite having the best actors and having the best the most money and best special effects behind it, they could still go down if their writing's crap, man. Like people could turn on them real quick, and like they have so much momentum going the other way, and AEW has all this momentum going the opposite way. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 years around, it would take a couple of years of WWE screwing up and stepping on Legos repeatedly over and over again for them to like for them to like happen. I guess it could happen, man, because like even WCW and WWF, man, like WWF had WrestleMania, WWF had all the biggest stars. They had Ric Flair from WCW. They stole him. They had Macho Man. They had Hulk Hogan. They had Bret Hart. They had Yokozuna. They had way bigger stars. They had Lex Luger from WCW. They had all these stars lining up, and they had all the big WrestleManias. But yet WCW was able to turn it around somehow, because after Hogan left, they screwed up, and after Macho Man, they screwed up. They couldn't find new stars, and the writing was horrible. They had all those in your house pay-per-views, and a bunch of lackluster WrestleManias. Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bigelow was the main event. I mean, like, it takes a bunch of crap to happen, but yeah, maybe WWE could do it all over again and screw up royally again. Now they have some actual competition with a company with a good TV deal, because AEW's going to be on TNT, with deep pockets, because they have Tony Khan, and he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and a European team in soccer, and they do auto parts. So I think Tony Khan's dad's like worth like 4 or 5 billion just by himself. So they have deep pockets, good roster. I mean, it could happen in a couple of years, but it's going to take a lot of WWE missteps, just because they have so many inherent advantages. But I don't know, man. It's crazier things have happened.
Yeah, and they still have wrestlers that are perfectly fine there. There's rumors of other people being unhappy and saying that they wonder what else is out there, and they're like, these are names where you'd be like, wow, I can't believe it. But I'm like, I mean, everyone always wonders what else is out there, you know.
Well, yeah, man, the grass is always greener on the other side,
but sometimes it's not. But
hang on, but
pretty damn green, man. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, to Tommy's point too, is literally in the snap of a finger, in the snap of a freaking, Thanos, snap. The WWE universe can change, and all it will take is Vince McMahon relinquishing creative control.
That's all he has to do.
If he can relinquish creative control and give the freaking talent, the entire roster, autonomy. Now, to your point too, if you have some people who can only fog a mirror and can't cut a promo, yeah, help them out, right?
Yeah.
Like, but to those that can, let them try, right? Let them, give them the reins to try their own, to develop their own stories and do that. And because anything can change in a week, you know what I mean? Like, so this could all change. WWE could absolutely just turn the ship around in a heartbeat, and all it will take is Vince McMahon to relieve control. That's it. That's all it takes. But to do that in and of itself that's, you know what I mean? Is that even possible?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's cool stuff. Like, R-Truth is cool with his WBO WWE title. It looks like the WBO World Heavyweight Belt. That's a boxing, by the way. I'm pretty sure what happened was they were like, hey, we're releasing a new title. It's basically the Hardcore Championship. If you look at the rules and the structure, it's just we can't make it as ugly. So you got 5 minutes. Just draw me a belt real quick. I'm going to go ahead and slap it together. It's on my desk right now. It's going to be good stuff. All right, cool. Good. Go. That's cool. But then I'm just like, how is a former I think she was 2-time, maybe just 1 time, SmackDown Women's Champion, awesome heel, riding on the back of R-Truth. And then I'm like, I guess this is comedy. Is Vince more trying to gear towards his PG audience? Because, AJ Styles has said, I love WWE. My kids love it. There's fathers. You guys are fathers. Your kids probably love WWE. They don't think of the stuff that us 18 to 35-year-old men and up think of. Like, we're just, like, looking for that good product. And they're just looking for John Cena or whoever they follow. I don't know. So it's like, I get that part. But I'm just like, man, if you just let Triple H just get in there just a little bit, just tap it in a little bit more, you just step to the side, it could all be so glorious. Think about it, glory. You're still on top either way. I mean, you do have the #1 wrestling company in the world, but now it's like I feel like people. Stone Cold said, don't look at it as the top of the mountain. Look at it as possibly a stepping stone. Cody Rhodes, stepping stone. Mox, stepping stone. There's probably other names too. And it's like WWE is always going to be the #1 company. But there's people that are coming up now on these independents that maybe they're not going to sign with WWE now. Maybe they're going to think about AEW or going to New Japan or going to PWG or see whoever the heck they want to go to. Because the money might not be as much, but the peace of mind, man, you know what I'm saying? Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley just seems so at ease on that podcast. Like, and then I just think of what him on Stone Cold's, and you could tell he was just not there. And now it just makes sense. Like, I don't know if it goes back that far. I didn't finish the podcast, so I don't know if he talked about that. But you could see that he just was like, I hate myself. Like, I hate what I'm doing. I have this 10 pounds of gold, and I hate it. I hate everything about it. They told me to ride backwards on the unicycle. Who does that? Like, what the hell? That's the story, man. So it's like, are we excited for the Super Showdown? They're saying this could be as big as WrestleMania, which there's no possible way.
It looks horrible, man. It does not look good.
Versus Goldberg, like, really? Why is that a dream match now? I'm pretty sure one's 55 and one's 70.
What's the match?
The Undertaker will wrestle Bill Goldberg.
No, that's stupid.
Let me run down the card.
Randy Orton for the 30,000th time.
A 50-man battle royal.
There's a 50-man battle, the biggest battle royal ever.
How's that even going to work? 50 men in the ring at the same time, or they do
I don't know if 50 men can fit in the ring at the same time, Michael Cole, but by golly, we're gonna do it.
The Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley.
Which is pointless. What's the point of that?
Lars Sullivan versus Lucha House Party in a handicap match.
Lars Sullivan versus never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Finn Balor versus Andrade for the IC title.
That's cool, but this is on a Friday.
Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship.
Listen, man, I love Dolph Ziggler.
They've seen this matchup 1,000 times, though. Yeah,
I have seen this, and that's why I can't really. I don't care if you maim the New Day and you somehow re-injure Big E. Plot twist: he probably just wasn't ready to come back, which is why he didn't do anything on TV. I'm not excited. Roman Reigns versus, I think, Drew McIntyre. No, Shane McMahon.
Yeah, Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon.
Okay, there you go. There's something good about WWE, but what does that tell you? Shane McMahon, WWE. He's the best in the world. He's a good heel. He's the boss's son. You don't touch his daddy. Why is
that's a major problem, man? Like, we have a roster this deep. We have so much talent on the roster, and Shane McMahon's in a high-profile match, and it's probably one of the better matches. That is a serious problem, man. That is a serious problem. Where have you gone wrong?
I don't know. And Elias is probably not going to get a match.
And then the last match is Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin for the Universal Championship.
Well, at least we get to get Baron Corbin losing to Seth Rollins out of the way now. Unless he wins, I hope he doesn't. I hope that Brock Lesnar doesn't cash in on Baron Corbin.
On a Friday afternoon in Saudi Arabia, all these Saudi Arabian, Australian, super shows have not been, they've been, totally skippable, and, nothing really major happens on them.
No, and I don't know why Vince, I guess.
They're doing it for the money, but I know that, but.
So who gets the payout? Saudi Arabians or Vince McMahon or both? The
state of Saudi Arabia pays a bunch of money to WWE, so WWE comes and holds a show there.
Oh, okay. And wrestlers aren't cool with it because they rape their women? Is that right? Is that off? Did I just say the wrong thing on the
You're kind of on the right track. I thought you'd say something more offensive, but you're doing good tonight. Exceeding my expectations. No, they're just they just they have no women's rights, okay. And hard women's rights, and if you're gay, you basically get killed.
Wait, they don't just cut your hand off first? That's
horrible too, man.
I know.
That's not good either, man. No, it's just horrible for human rights, man. And they just cover it all up, and it's really shady to work with them. It's not good to be associated working with them, but
Vince
They-
McMahon.
Yeah, it's WWE. It's a horrible look for WWE, but they're making a ton of money off of it. I heard there's like they make more off this than like WrestleMania, basically almost, or as
Wow.
much,
Wow.
which is insane, right? To think about how much they hype up WrestleMania, like they do the whole access all week, but that's how much Saudi Arabia is paying for. That's like good PR.
Jeez, man, they got money. They got oil too, I believe.
Exactly, yeah. They got oil and cheeks and all that good stuff, but yeah, they do not treat their women or their gay people very well. So,
Jeez, what?
but yeah, you better not be. Don't be gay. Don't begin being living in Saudi Arabia or go
That
visiting
sounds
Saudi
like
Arabia.
horrible card with there's no build to half of those matches have no build. Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins will get all this build in what 7 in the next week, Monday.
Yeah, that's all they got Monday. Yep.
Undertaker versus Goldberg. Have you seen either one of those two on TV? Although one will be on SmackDown and one will be on Raw Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird card. Yeah,
I'm punting on this show. I'm gonna watch it because I mean it's wrestling, it's WWE. Maybe there's nothing cool that could happen. I don't know what could happen. I couldn't even say that CM Punk shows up and just GTS because I don't think he's ever coming back there.
the next AEW show, All Out, is in Chicago in August.
Ooh,
Labor Day weekend.
That's got the Young Bucks versus the Reynolds brothers or Rose or whatever they're calling themselves, the Nightmare Family, which is a cool name in and of itself. They have a faction already. I think DDP is in it, even though I thought he was cool with WWE, but I guess not. Yeah, so that'll be awesome. Joey Janela versus Jon Moxley, although I thought that Joey Janela was Brian Pillman Jr., but I guess he's not.
Joey Janela wears sunglasses and smokes.
Right. And that was cool. That was freaking cool. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a long time ago. I want to say Brian Pillman took a cigarette. I think this happened. I could be dreaming. And he blew it in the face of somebody. It could have been Stone Cold Steve Austin. It could have been Ric Flair. It was someone. But in this Jon Moxley version, he just takes the cigarette, smokes it himself, and walks off. And that's the start of a feud.
Did you guys see any of Double or Nothing, or just like me?
And I loved it. I just went on YouTube and watched the highlights. I was like, man, this is awesome. Like the spots were cool. The matches with the Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Reynolds. Is that what we're calling him? That was good. Obviously, the Bucks, they're going to give you a match. And I don't know the two Lucha Bros' names. I don't know their names, but that was good. Everything about it was good, And then to top it all off, Jon Moxley walks through the crowd and kills 30 people.
Anthony, did you catch any of the highlights or the GIFs or anything, or the memes?
I just saw when Moxley came out. And that was it, but I didn't see anything else. I didn't see the Rhodes match or anything. I'm hoping to catch it at some point, but I just have had no time.
Mm-hmm.
The match order was good, though. Like, you started off with SCU versus, I don't remember who they fought. I just know they won. So, and it's just like that kind of stuff, like the way they set the show up, Omega Jericho 2. Obviously now I think Jericho gets the title shot, or somehow Hangman Page, who also won the Battle Royal, since his whatever's going on with Neville or Pac. I don't know. He's being pulled from a lot of their shows right now. Yeah. AEW is exciting stuff, man. I can't wait to see how they do, and once they get on TV, what happens next.
Should be good, man. Should be good. Any topics you should hit?
No, I was going to ask you what you thought of the show, or did you see the show?
I was up north in Arizona, so like I couldn't get the pay-per-view, but I was watching my phone. Like some place I got reception, other place I didn't. And I saw like most of the Cody versus Dustin match. Really cool because Dustin took like a big like cut over his eye and it was like super bloody.
How do you do that?
I don't know, man. He hit like the middle turnbuckle they took out, and he just like got slammed into it or just like tripped into it. It was pretty gnarly, man. That was a really good match. It was brother versus brother, and they told a really good story. Like that was like one of those stories that should have been told in WWE, man. Like they had those two guys forever, and they just never pulled the trigger on that. So that's kind of a diss on them. And then I saw some of the Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus Matt and Nick Jackson. It's crazy spot fest between
Nice.
Flyers.
Not the Young Bucks. I'm talking about the Lucha Bros.
What about them?
Are they really related, or are they just Lucha?
No, there's brothers because they're both Mexican. They both are luchadors, so they're not. I don't think they're actually brothers.
Well,
But and then I didn't see any of Jericho versus Omega. I just saw that video at the end where Moxley came in and everyone like lost their mind. That was a cool moment because you don't really have that. Because like when WWE signs a free agent, I think maybe the last time maybe we had that was like when AJ Styles came into the Royal Rumble because because WWE's secrets are kind of like known, and when they sign a big free agent, it either goes to NXT or kind of just shows up. So like, I thought that reveal was really well done. I didn't have any idea. I mean, kind of maybe rumors, but I didn't really like believe them or anything. Nothing like concrete or anything. So to see that moment, that kind of took us back to like, I don't know, Rick Rude showing up on or Bret Hart showing up on Monday Nitro, or Chris Jericho showing up on Raw back in the day.
Right, Jericho was that one was I don't remember if that was rumored, but I knew we knew about it. I think, and then, Rick Rude. No, no one knew. I knew the internet was like a baby back then, so like you couldn't cheat that way. Styles. I don't think anyone announced that, but everything else that has happened, all the signings, you always know because the internet leaks it, or they show up at NXT because that's where they're going, and you're just like, okay, and then they debut, or like they just don't build their match. I know we're burying them. I'm sorry, but I don't know what to
do. We said nice things at the beginning.
Yeah, they just don't set up their matches properly. Like they just spoil the suspense of them. Like just like, oh, Kofi Kingston is gonna wrestle freaking I don't know a polar bear tonight. Well, that's a lie. That's already been leaked. We already knew, or whatever. NXT is taped, so if you want to cheat, you can steal all the answers on the internet, so just like there's just too much access, and now Jon Moxley has given us full access, so it's like let's see what they do, because with AEW doing what they did, maybe this will be just like keep comparing it. Now Vince is gonna have to say, well, I got to change up the formula now, like I can't have him knowing that this is my fault, like I gotta or maybe he won't because he doesn't care. Who knows? But
he might just be a crazy man. Doesn't care. Yeah.
You just don't care. I just hope that AEW lights a fire under WWE, because for as long as you guys have done this show, and then I came in and you guys brought me in, and thank you for that. We've just spent a lot of our time being pissed off at everything we're seeing from WWE. The Roman Reigns pushes over and over again, failing, and Rollins and Ambrose failing, and Wyatt failing, and it's like now you have this Bray Wyatt character that's reinvented, but he's still Bray Wyatt. Let's not forget that even though he's got a fun house and a sweater, obviously he's still Bray Wyatt. He's just a little bit different, and I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with that. What's going to be the payoff of this? Because when he was Bray Wyatt in the Woods, I was waiting for a payoff. We never really got one. Now he's got kids, and they follow him. Is he off in this? Is he going to be a mid-card talent? Who's he going to feud with first?
Good question.
Heard the rumor with Finn Balor, which would probably be horrible.
Did you say Finn Balor?
I'm sorry. I'm not even making it up. I don't know if I saw that on Twitter. Actually, it's an actual legit rumor. I can't even tell anymore.
Is it the wild card rule? He's going to show up?
A wild card rule is so dumb. So bad.
Anthony, do you like that rule? Or what about the electric chair of truth? Or the chair of truth? Or they did this
I haven't even seen that.
Oh, it was on Monday night. It's a new segment, apparently. I don't know if is this a real segment, Tommy, or was that just
as they're bringing it back? I think they're teasing to bring it back, so it might be it's supposed to be Corey Graves' electric chair, where they sit in an electric chair and fans ask questions. It was horrible. It was horrible. Sami Zayn almost died out there. Luckily, he saved it because he's Sami Zayn, but any other superstar might have just died out there because it's such a stupid segment. Like, they actually brought out a legit electric chair, man. Like, it was WCW, like, War Games, and Abdul the Butcher was getting electrocuted by Cactus Jack. It was like what the hell are you thinking? Like, AEW just did Double or Nothing, and they had an awesome card, and this is how you respond on Monday night? By bringing out an electric chair in the middle of the ring and having fans ask questions? Are you kidding? This is like Can you sum up WWE's problems better than that stupid segment? Like, what the hell were you thinking? Who approved this? Like, this went through a team of writers and it got rubber stamped by Vince McMahon. Everyone thought it was a good idea. This is just beyond stupid.
That's what they did. They literally said that. And I'm watching Corey Graves in the ring, and I'm like, I feel like he's struggling to even say this with a straight face, but I guess he's doing it because they're cutting his checks anyway. And I'm like, is this really happening? And I was like, no, this is Sami Zayn. This is adding to Sami Zayn. So this is a Sami Zayn thing, but apparently anybody's viable to sit in this electric chair and answer questions from the audience. And then the poor fans in the audience that are probably given these stupid questions to ask. And I'm just like, that poor guy right there. He doesn't want to ask that question.
The fans did look like kind of like they were gonna piss. Yeah, they'd like, oh man, why do I gotta do this? But Sami Zayn did say all elite wrestling.
He did. He said you could ask me about AEW, and I feel like that might. Well, we don't know if that was scripted or not. I'm guessing it was. Or it was not.
Well, I think it's crazy if it's scripted because, like, why would you bring up your competition after they just had an awesome weekend and tell all your fans about them? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And if it wasn't scripted, then damn, Sami Zayn's got huge balls to say that, man. Like, new respect for El Generico.
Yes, even though we don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either. Just want to talk about El Generico. My bad.
Maybe he's one of the guys that wants to know what's going on outside. Maybe it's Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens is signing the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more to come, and this electric chair is really a thing. I thought I was like teetering with the 24/7 title. I was like, I like it, but I don't like it, but I like it because it belongs to R-Truth. Just like all you're seeing is all these guys chasing this one dude, and none of these guys have anything to do. They don't even have time to get on the microphone because they're chasing this guy all over the arena. And apparently at cookouts and other things that he goes to. And I'm like, when do you have time to go to these things when you're supposed to be wrestling all the time?
But here's the last thing. Here's my last point before we wrap it up. The 24/7 title already has the best storyline of all the WWE titles. It's better than it's better than women's tag, better than both Raw and SmackDown's tag, better than the US title, better than the IC title, probably better than the Universal title because it's Corbin versus Rollins, and then Kingston versus Ziggler. I mean, that's like a push. That could be 24/7 title or Kingston versus Ziggler. Like the 24/7 title after being around for 10 days is already like more established and has better stories. Which is that's another part of the problem. Like, how can that be possible? How could this pass all your prestigious belts that quickly? That's a problem.
So crappily. Like, Mick Foley even said, like, I think the fans reacted because of me. And it's like, you see this title, like, ew, that's ugly. But then you're like, but then again, it's 24/7. Which means, and then the story starts, and you're like, this is so cool. Drake Maverick's got like a bajillion posters of R-Truth. I don't know where he keeps getting them from. And he posts them everywhere. He keeps getting a cramp in his left rib, and you just feel bad for him. And then you're like, oh yeah, Seth Rollins is defending his Universal title against Baron Corbin. Yawn. Like, I don't care. You're right. That's pretty sad. Even the women's tag titles. The most recently released titles outside of this title. I mean, I love the Iconics, but it's like I don't even care. Like, who's even challenging? Like, you put Kairi Sane and Asuka together. Like, you're talking about a former undefeated, like unstoppable machine tearing with another woman. Why? Because they're the same color. Like, what is that all even about? Like, why did you do that? Who is that?
Yeah. I have some final thoughts before we wrap up here real quick. To the point of the 24/7 belt, I mean, I've only seen pictures of it. I haven't ever seen it in action. But what I will say is I have been talking about this quite a bit on the show, that I think it's cool to have a title that changes hands frequently.
Yeah, man, you got your wish.
So I'm happy. I'm very, very pleased with that. And so actually, to add another thing that I think WWE did cool that I enjoy, I enjoy this 24/7 belt. It looks really stupid. It looks like a McDonald's like Happy Meal toy, but you know, but the concept is super cool because it gives somebody the ability to be a champ and change hands frequently. So I've always been a proponent of it, and now that it's here, I am very happy. So I can, my tummy is full with that.
Will you get yourself a replica of it?
Yeah, probably, because I mean, again, my wish was fulfilled. So I'd support it. But those are my final thoughts from this jam-packed episode.
I want to see Rock. I see Rocco pin you in the ball pit. 24/7 title.
Heck yeah. But
All right.
before we get in any other wild tangents, I think that's great episode for tonight. Thanks to all of our international listeners. Clearly, this is a global culture and a global product. And, thank you to all of our listeners that support us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and someday iTunes again and Podbean. We'll get there. We'll get there, I promise. Hey, thanks for listening. And share the show with a friend.
And elbow drop that friend, people.
AEW.
Hit the guitar.